Thank you for tuning in to Entertain the Geeky, your source for nerd news.
Hey nerds, this is Jason back at you with more news. So today, I'm joined by Rodger.
Hi, Jason.
Hey Rodger, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How are you?
Surviving during this crazy pandemic that we're experiencing right now.
It is an odd time.
It is very zombie outbreak movies. Did you not turn your phone down?
I am apparently amateur. I was just thinking, I was like,
I did it. You saw me do it.
We had Mike on the show, and his phone went off during his podcast. And I was like, I'm so glad I'm more professional. Apparently, I am not.
Yeah.
So.
Don't be so high and mighty. But anyway, so Rodger is joining us because recently Star Trek Picard has made its mark on Trek history.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about it. So beware, we are probably going to be spoiling some things. We're probably going to talk about some details.
So if you haven't watched it, it's free.
It's free,
It's
yeah.
10 episodes. You can knock that out in a day now.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart definitely took a hard line against that. Like he said that he's been saying the entertainment industry is more important than ever right now in this time of crisis.
And with Patrick, he's out there like doing things.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like he's reading,
and he's at risk. I mean, he's definitely one of the people that is at higher risk for death from this disease.
And he's like him and LeVar Burton. So let's talk about these two actors really quick. I'm sorry.
No.
So LeVar Burton is reading books, and it started with, "Hey, I know you're homeschooling. Let me read your kids' children books."
Yeah, the Reading Rainbow style.
Right, and now he's changed it to where like Monday's child's book, Wednesday it's more young adult. And then Friday, it's adult books.
Okay.
So he's he's giving back, and he's just reading. He's doing audiobooks for you to listen to.
Well, he does have a very, very dulcet voice, and it's brilliant to listen to him.
And our generation, we grew up listening to him read books.
Yeah, LeVar Burton was what helped me get into books.
So it's nice.
Reading Rainbow made me want to read more books.
Right. And in this time of very vague uncertainty, hearing that calming voice that you grew up with reading a book to you, I mean, I can't tell you how many nights I've fallen asleep to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's admirable, too, like I said, because these guys are at a higher risk for serious consequences from catching this virus. So, but Star Trek Picard just finished up. And I think, obviously, like I said, they're at higher risk. If this were the only thing we ever saw from this universe, I think it's great.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to see more. I hope we build. But it has a nice arc, I think, throughout its 10-episode run.
After I watched it, we watched it, and then Elizabeth said, "This could have been a movie."
Sure, absolutely.
It could like there was a lot. It was a very slow burn.
Well, yeah, the first 3 or 4 episodes, I think, build because you really have to reestablish what's going on in the universe.
But you didn't.
You did.
They didn't reestablish what's going on in the universe. All they really showed was that Romulus was destroyed, and synthetic life was banned, and that's really all we got about the universe.
Right, but with Picard not being a part of the Federation anymore, we have to flesh that out a little bit too. We have to understand where the Federation is at now,
but
versus where we left them. I think we do.
At the end of the 10 episodes?
It's telling when he goes to the Federation early on and asks for their help in this, and they refuse him. I think it's very telling what kind of Federation he's... The reason he left the Federation is because something about it has changed. Something has fundamentally become flawed within their system, and Picard recognized that and walked away.
Right.
So I think that helps to establish a desperate narrative for Picard to have to kind of go do this on his own because this is something he believes needs to be done.
Yes, but that doesn't really give us any status on how the galaxy or the universe is. It just means the Federation's doing what the Federation's always done, which is kind of shady stuff in the background.
Okay, maybe, right? I think Picard held the Federation, and Kirk, Sisko, Janeway.
No.
These people held the Federation up to a standard that showed that these are your representatives. These are people that are representing your organization, and they held it to a specific standard. And if that standard has failed them, well, then I can see why they would walk away.
Sisko killed an ambassador.
Okay.
But Picard, I love the show.
Sure.
I want to say that I loved every single episode of Picard. Even the episodes that were a slow burn, just seeing the character study of Picard.
Sure.
And at the end of the show, first spoiler. Sorry, at the end.
Right. No, we talked about that. We were gonna spoil things
At the end of the last episode, when Riker showed up
with the Federation fleet,
with the Federation at his back in a Starfleet uniform,
sitting in a captain's chair.
like
It was brilliant.
it was so just in your face. Boom.
Well, and I think the thing that I think really was well done about it is these kinds of nostalgic moments didn't feel like they were being shoved down our throat. They felt like natural parts of the story. When you meet Riker again and Troy and their family, it doesn't feel like they're just cramming nostalgia down your throat. It felt natural.
And to me, Riker, like the first episode we see Riker, really saved the show for me. Because I was in, but I was like, it's a very slow burn. And then I see Riker, and he's like, hey, old friend, how are you? And Picard goes, Romulans. He goes, red alert. Like, right? Instant just...
He went back into Federation mode pretty quickly.
Like, right back to, I'm your first officer. And then as soon as he's like, all right, everything's good, you want pizza?
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm your friend.
Well, and when he was trying to guess what the situation was, right? I mean, he was dead on about everything that was going on in Picard's life. And it's a testament to how well these two men knew each other and still obviously know each other. So the very idea is, like I said, it just doesn't feel forced. It feels natural. It feels like when Picard is in danger, who does he think of first? He thinks of Riker. Riker will help him. No matter what's going on in the Federation, no matter where his loyalties lie, he will help him.
And then at the end, when Picard was ready to throw his life away,
Riker was the one who came through.
like just boom, all of a sudden, there's Riker
Hey,
saying,
guess what? I got the Federation fleet and back off. Because
Right.
we will attack you and we'll win.
you're the Romulans. You don't have a lot going for you right now.
Not to mention that he immediately goes into the specs of the new starships, right? To show you that, no, like, these are technologically superior to yours.
We're done.
We'll win.
We're done messing around.
We'll
right
win.
now.
We don't want to fight you, but we will, and we'll win.
And
first contact has been established. That's important.
This is Federation.
This takes precedence over your needs. Yeah.
And then for him to go, you got this, Admiral, I'm out,
Right.
was very telling to how much trust that Riker has in Picard.
Right. Picard's ability to facilitate a first contact is definitely, something Riker understands about him. His diplomacy, his ability to rationalize, his ability to look at all sides of an argument before deciding.
So, I mean, we know I love Picard. Like, I do. And
I enjoy it quite a bit.
when Discovery came out, I bought CBS All Access. Like I said, I will buy CBS. I will subscribe to it. Even when Star Trek Discovery is not on, they're still getting my monthly payment.
Sure.
Because in my mind, if I support bad Star Trek, I might get good Star Trek. And
I know a few people who disagree with you about that.
yeah, I know. But Picard is not the best Star Trek. It's not.
No.
But it's
By far, it's not. No.
It's showing leaps. It's showing like we're getting there. And there were moments in this show and in this first 10 episodes where I saw that captain again. Because
Sure.
it's a
you
different
see him right
character.
away. You see him in the first episode when he's being interviewed on that television program, that news program, for Spotlight on Admiral Picard. And the interviewer immediately goes into his separation from the Federation. And he goes into that whole speech. Like that, for me, I was going through the first 10, 15 minutes of the show. And I was like, all I see is a broken old man. Where's Picard? And then when he gave that speech, I said, oh, there he is.
Well, so that was my first reaction when he gave that speech. I was like, there's that Picard.
There's Picard.
The flip side is, though, knowing what we knew now about his condition, 'cause
Sure.
I can't remember the name of it, that wasn't the Picard we're used to seeing because there was so much anger.
Yeah, but I
in
think
his
it's
voice.
justified, right? Because, like I said, Picard held the Federation up to a standard,
Right.
and that standard failed him, and he realized that system was broken, and so he is angry at the Federation,
But Picard, like we've seen in the past,
and probably a little bit at himself.
but we've seen in the past Picard be angry at the Federation, measure of a man, the
sure.
drumhead, and he's always had a very not it wasn't I'm angry. It was more of I'm disappointed in you.
Sure.
Like Picard became the dad of the Federation, and he was like, "Listen, son, I know you stayed out past midnight. I'm not mad. I was worried, and now I'm just disappointed because you spent
Right.
all your allowance on cigarettes." And
Right, sure.
That's what Picard was, and in that episode, you saw it. You saw the thought process of I'm old Picard, I'm disappointed,
Right.
but because of the condition, it was I'm angry Picard,
Sure.
which led me to this whole other thought. Where was Beverly?
Well, I don't think Beverly... I mean, I like Beverly, and I think all the cast should have made at least some kind of cameo reappearance. But then, as I was saying before, I think it might have felt forced. And I felt like we're just reuniting these people because they were on the show together.
Except, like, I can get that with, like, Geordi or Worf. But there was a key scene. Like, traveling through space. Oh, look, I found Geordi. Oh, look, I found... There was a key scene in this season for Beverly to show up.
Okay.
First episode. Our second episode, when he's like, I'm going up to space. Doctor, give me...
Well, sure.
You know, instead of getting Beverly the one that we've invested our time in and we know that they have a relationship, here's a doctor that we're like, you guys are on the Stargazer together? I'm just going to accept this?
Well, sure. I mean, I guess I understand, but maybe Beverly Crusher wasn't available.
Well, no, that's not, no, Case McFadden ain't doing anything. But what's Beverly doing? Last we saw Beverly, she went to go Starfleet Medical.
Sure.
What's she?
Maybe she's busy.
Maybe
she's on some faraway planet.
But you would think that would
doing
have been
important medical research.
You think that'd have been Picard's first call? Well, instead, it's the doctor from the.
But I think that also comes down to the fact that at this point, Picard is angry, but he still thinks the Federation is on his side. So he goes to a Federation doctor. He goes to a Federation admiral when he's asking for a ship to go out into the universe again.
And then they dropped the F-bomb in Star Trek for the second time.
They did. They definitely did.
Can I talk about that for a second?
Well, I mean, if you want to.
I just don't like it.
Well, I don't think cursing is out of place in the Star Trek universe. I think what it comes down to is who's the person who's cursing, right?
And who you cursing at? You don't.
When Raffi was cursing, I was like, yeah, it's Raffi. She's kind of a deadbeat.
But
I mean, she gets her life back because of this, but she starts out and she's kind of given up on life. You know what I mean? She doesn't have a relationship with her son anymore. She's kind of just given up on life. So when she curses, I was just like, yeah, it's Raffi. When Rios curses, I was like, yeah, it's Rios.
But when an admiral looks at Picard and goes off on him while using the F-bomb, I'm like...
Sure.
No.
Yeah, no.
Like, it hit that weird nerve. Like, I realize it's not something I should be upset about.
Sure.
Because it worked and it was great. It put Picard in his place.
Sure.
But, man. Now... What was your thoughts on Data?
I think it is amazing that they were able to make Brent Spiner, who is an old man now. When you see Dr. Soong at the end, Dr. Soong's son, who's played by Brent Spiner as well, when you see him, that's like what he really looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's an old man now. And the fact that they were able to make him look like Data again blew my mind. Like I was completely blown away by that with makeup and CG, and it blows my mind.
And his ending? The character Data.
I think yes. I think Data got what Data always wanted. He got to achieve a certain level of humanity that he never thought would be achievable for himself. Because he always wanted to be more human. That was always his goal. He was always trying to ingratiate himself into the human species. But I think death is something that Data always knew would elude him. Right? He is an artificial man. He will never die. So I think in regards to pulling the plug on Data, to destroying the matrix that represents him, Data got what he always wanted. He got to experience humanity. And watching the android age in that scene was beautiful.
Like, that whole scene was beautiful. It brought a tear to my eye because Data is officially gone.
He has a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
He started out as the Vulcan character for TNG, but he evolved into so much more than that.
And his ending was beautiful, and he was like, it's not that... He's like, look, to be human, I have to die.
Right.
Life needs to be...
He wants to be human.
Right. So
life should be finite.
And like that whole line, my only kind of, I feel they missed the ball here. And here was a time for maybe another cameo.
Sure.
Instead of Picard being there in the dream vision of Data's death, Tasha Yar should have been there, because she did that character was so short lived on TNG, but the impact she had on Data's life and existence.
Sure.
Was so grand.
Well, the impact she had on the universe with her daughter and the Romulans.
Just Data.
Well, sure. But Tasha Yar definitely had a long-term impact on TNG as a television show, even though she was only on the show for a short time.
A season?
Was it only one season?
Yeah.
I thought she made it into part of season 2.
I thought she died in season 1.
No,
Armis Skin of Evil?
Because I thought the time travel-y gobbledygook wasn't until season 2.
Well, no.
That's where we lost Tasha Yar.
No, we lost Tasha Yar at Armis Skin of Evil. Is when she died. She came back with...
Oh, the time traveling gobbledygook was where they brought her back.
Right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So I think that was season 1.
Right.
But that was after her and Data had relations.
I am fully functional.
Right. And
It's one of my favorite Data moments of all time. When the question comes up about Data and sex, he always responds with, I am fully functional.
Right. And in that episode, Measure of a Man, and this is after she has died, it's revealed that he still has the hologram of her because even though he doesn't emotionally feel it, she impacted his life. And to me, that sweet moment of, first off, as a Star Trek fan, seeing Tasha Yar take his hand as he died would have been like, oh!
Yeah, but I think the reason Picard is the choice, and I'm not discounting any of the Tasha Yar theory, because I think that would have been a good thing. But I think what really hits home for the Picard thing is Data. That's when Data gave up his life, was to save Picard.
Yes.
And that man had more of an impact on his life than anyone. Tasha Yar had an impact on his life. Riker had an impact on his life. Troy had an impact on his life. They all did, even Wesley. But no one impacted Data's life like Picard.
I just, in my head, I thought that the Picard Data conversation they had when you found out Picard was not going to die.
Sure.
Was like Data saying goodbye. Like they both said goodbye to each other. And then I felt like if Yar would have been there just for that end scene, you would have had that wrapped up. You'd have had Data going, yes, I know you loved me.
Sure.
Picard,
that would have been beautiful. I'm not denying that would have been a beautiful moment.
But the only big complaint I have, like besides the cursing, and this one actually does bother me, I'm tired of robot tentacles.
Yeah, what was that on the other side there?
I don't know.
It was like Robot Cthulhu or something.
It was like, I remember, and there was I said it out loud, and I was like, great, Star Trek hit hentai, and I was like, I don't know what to do here. There's robot tentacles, matrixy things coming out of the sky.
Well, I think in a universe, I think they were obviously gatewaying to another universe, right? So I think in a universe where artificial intelligence did thrive and wiped out all life, eventually what we're saying is eventually it would evolve into something like that, right? That it would be a big monstrous thing, like the Reaver or the Reapers from Mass Effect.
Right. No, that was, yeah.
Right. The Reapers.
Yeah, and that was
They're Reapers. That's what's on the other side is the Reapers.
So, I guess, I just saw big tentacles, and this just hit me real quickly. The best thing about Picard, and why it is the most Star Trek of any of the new Star Trek we've gotten since, I'm going to say, Insurrection.
Well, that one was still part of canon, though.
Yes, and so was Nemesis, and so was the JJ verse, and so was Discovery, technically. But like the most Star Trek feeling thing about this show was the big bad, the entire universe-ending threat, which we shouldn't really get in Star Trek, but we have here, was not solved by bombing or phaser cannons or action. No, it was solved by a man
diplomacy and talking,
giving his words.
Yep.
And that is the most beautiful thing, because that's what Star Trek was.
No, I agree. I want to talk very briefly a little bit, though, about the new characters that were introduced to us.
Oh, yes, definitely. Let's go.
Right. One of the things that really impacted me a lot about the show, and it caught me off guard at first, was Rios. Okay. Rios, I think, is a very layered, complex character, and those complexities, those layers that he has, come out in the form of the holograms on the ship.
Yes,
and I think that blew, because when you first see the helper hologram, right, when you first meet Rios, that's the first hologram you're introduced to, and my immediate reaction was, is that the same actor? Because I wasn't sure, right? Because he did look different, he was acting different, he sounded different, he felt like a different guy.
Because he is.
Right.
He's a different part of
He's a different part of Rios.
Right, yeah. of Rios' character and who he is.
And then as we started to see more and more of those holograms, my mind didn't go to, wow, that's annoying that all the holograms are him. My mind went to, this actor is blowing me away with his ability to play completely different characters that all have the same face.
And then you see the main character he's playing, and now you start seeing the complexities behind him, because
it's a brilliant tactic in a show, right?
It is.
Show us kind of almost a split personality disorder that this man has.
Well, I didn't go split personality, but like,
well, these are the layers of his psyche, right? And programmed into these machines.
Exactly, but like when you're being Jason Host, you're not exactly Jason. You're being host
true.
Jason.
Yeah,
so this guy is taking the host hologram is taking that to the extreme, right? So he's just showing that. So you're seeing the extremes of his character, followed by when you see him try to with the conflicts he has throughout the entire 10 episodes.
Yeah. He's a very complex character.
You see him wrestling with everything.
Yeah.
But he's just a meld of all of those different holograms.
Yeah.
And then when you have that meeting,
With all of them?
All of
them. Oh my god, where Raffi's talking to all the holograms?
Yes.
Brilliant. My favorite hologram, I have to say, though, is the, like, lackadaisical bridge crew guy. Like, he's my favorite. The one who's just, like, he's on the bridge, but he just really is like, fine, I guess I'll do the thing. Right? Like, he is my favorite personality because he's just, that feels like who Rios was when he first picked up a ship.
Right.
I was just like, I gotta do all this myself now? I can't just order someone to do it? That sucks. Because he was a first officer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a testament to Picard sitting down and trying to control the ship. It's like, you don't do that.
Yeah, I haven't
That's
done
not
this.
your job.
I haven't done this in years. I'm
Even when you were on board Enterprise D, that wasn't your job. Your job was to delegate that to others.
Laying a course, Mr. LaForge. You're not in engineering yet.
The officers don't actually have to do anything, right? They give orders. That's their job. They're the leaders.
I will say, to me, one of the best characters in the show, it's not a new character, it is an old character, but I like where she is now as opposed to where she was in her original iteration, and that's 7 to 9.
Oh, 7 of 9 is brilliant.
I think her character
Man, when she plugged into that Borg cube,
it freaked me out. I was like, she's going bad.
we are Borg. I was just like, oh no.
It's over. 7 to 9's characterization and how she ended up to me was just amazing.
Yeah, I think 7 of 9 had an actually, in Voyager, her arc was probably my favorite arc for a character. She went through a very interesting evolution over the course of that show. To the point where when she first got on board, I mean, she basically still looked like a Borg. Mm-hmm. Right? But she wasn't. She was disconnected from the collective. But she had no hair, or, you know.
She was a Borg.
She was a Borg.
And then there was Cathy. And now we have Ranger.
Yeah.
And she's got complex emotions, and she knows how, she still doesn't know where she fits.
No. Rangers is, I think, where she fits. And I think that's why she ultimately falls on that side of the argument, is because I think that's where she fits. She's got too much conflict for a Starfleet officer, right? They have to remain a specific composure. They cannot let the emotion of a situation guide their actions. So I think she's a little too crazy to be a Starfleet officer, but she's too skilled to just be a private citizen. So being a mercenary type is perfect for her,
right?
You know?
Now I did have some plot holes, and one, I didn't like the device that fixed the ship.
Oh, that thing was, I mean, it's an AI developed tool.
I was like, wait, why don't you?
No, I think it makes sense because it's an
really
AI developed
use your
tool.
imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, AIs don't really have imaginations.
But they're all based on Data's matrix, Data's positronic matrix.
Data doesn't have imagination. That's why you love the holodeck so much.
I understand what you're saying, but what we see of Data, what we see of what has become of Data's positronic matrix is Data evolved. He became more human. The fact that we can go there and see a version of Soji or Daj that is datafied, right? What I mean by that is yellowed skin and the eyes and stuff, that also has emotion, shows us Data evolved. Data's positronic matrix kept getting more complex as time went on.
Yeah, I still don't buy the fact that here's a little magic device that I just use my imagination and things get fixed. I can't do it. I was like, wait, why not just go, here's a box full of nanoprobes, they'll fix everything. That at least scientifically makes sense to me.
Sure.
The imagination machine I was like, I can't buy it.
I like it.
Okay.
I think it's what Data would develop if he could. That's why I liked it.
Okay.
But also Raffi. I mean, I really liked Raffi.
I want to see more of Raffi's character.
I like that actress.
She
was on Law and Order SVU very early on, right? She was only in the first, I think, 2 or 3 seasons. Mm-hmm. But she was great. I loved her. And even after she got a desk job, she still continued to be on the show when they would do shots in the police station. And I really liked her character. And so when I heard, here's a new character being played by that actress, I was just like, she's going to be a former Starfleet officer? I'm in.
And yeah, no, to me, that
she has, I think, a good arc throughout the whole show.
She does, and I want to see where that goes. Because like you mentioned earlier, she didn't have a family, but now, because crew kind of becomes family, I'm very excited to see.
Yeah, I think Elnor is part of her family now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That character.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about Raffi for a minute. We'll get to Elnor because I want to talk about Elnor too. He's the greatest Romulan ever.
But yeah, I want to see more Raffi. I want to see where this character goes.
Well, her arc had a genuine emotion to it, right?
Right.
You feel for her, right? Because she made bad choices, and that's evident, right? When we meet her, that's evident. She's made bad choices. But she tries during this journey to fix things, and it really doesn't work out for her. And that's a testament to, sometimes people are unwilling to forgive you for the things that you've done to them. You start compounding these things, and it becomes harder and harder to get over it. But I think, through all of this strife, and she goes through a whole episode where we don't even really see her. She's just depressed in her room getting drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think through all of this, like you said, your crew becomes your family, and she gains a new purpose in her life that still fits in with who she was as a Federation officer, but goes a step further because she's not a part of the Federation, and she can affect different kinds of change in that regard. So yeah, I think her character is brilliant. Her arc is brilliant throughout the whole story.
And now Legolas?
Well, Elnor. His name is Elnor, and he's a Romulan boy who Picard obviously had an impact on when he was young. He lives with the what are they called? What was their order called?
The Romulans. I don't know.
No, the Order of the Women, right? The female warriors.
Yeah, I just don't remember their name.
Yeah, I don't remember their name either. Damn. Anyway, Elnor's kind of the greatest Romulan ever. And that's not really saying much because we don't really get to know the Romulans as much.
Is he the greatest Romulan ever? Because, or is it the fact that he is so different from the Romulans we see?
Well, sure, but in all reality, who are we comparing, Elnor to? We don't have a lot of main character Romulans. The Romulans in the TNG universe were the bad guys.
Right.
So we didn't really get to know them on a personal level. We didn't get to see their side of it. We are looking at it from the Federation side, right? So I think there's not a lot of, when you say, oh, he's such a great Romulan, it's like, yeah, but compared to what?
Exactly. So I'm like that's what I'm saying. Like,
so I think he's the greatest Romulan because there's just an absence of great Romulans. Now, the other side, the flip side of their species, the Vulcan, there's a lot of great Vulcans that we can look to, right? Obviously, most notably Spock, but there's definitely Vulcans that we can look to that are great.
Tuvok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of Romulans. They were the bad guys.
But where he is, because we see a lot of Romulans in the show.
Sure.
Because you actually see what they're doing.
Well, they explain the difference in the ridges and stuff,
Yeah,
which was lame. I didn't really need an explanation for that. Some Romulan looking more like Vulcans is fine with me. Like,
yeah. But you do see...
They're Southerners.
Right, whatever, don't care.
Okay.
But you see the Tal Shiar, and you see the standard Romulan intrigue and political, and then here's this guy who's like, no, I'm more of a samurai.
He's definitely a samurai.
And
my friends choose to live is my new favorite thing. I'm going to do that in D&D games now.
The first time he said that, I was like, what did he just say?
My friends choose to live.
And
basically
then,
saying, don't attack me, because you will die.
And then on the board cube, you just hear it goes to black, and he says it again, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It's about to go down.
They're surrounded by Romulans, and they cut to black to hear, my friends choose to live.
I was like,
Come on. I think he even said it in Romulan that time.
He did. It was
a subtitle just pop up on the screen.
And I do want to see, because now his whatever quest called, because I don't speak Romulan, it's done. Like he joined Picard to do this quest.
Yeah, but I think he doesn't have as much of a place back home, right? Because again,
Exactly.
the order that he belongs to is typically all women. I mean, it's always all women. It's not even typically; it's always all women.
So let's assume
He's an outlier.
Let's assume 7 to 9 stays. Do they, or does he go with 7 to 9 to be a ranger? Like,
That would be a good role for him, I think, in the universe.
I do too.
But I think he stays with Picard. I think ultimately he loves Picard.
Right.
Also, he's the most Vulcan-looking Romulan I've ever seen.
Well, he's completely from like the very tip of the South.
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
No, the ridges are the Southerners.
All right, so he's from the very tip of the North.
Yeah. I mean, he's the most Vulcan looking, because he looks like a Vulcan. When I first saw him as an adult, I said, is he a Romulan or is he a Vulcan? Because he looks like a Vulcan.
Right.
I remember seeing stills of that episode, and I said, who's this Vulcan guy that Picard's talking to? Oh, wait, it's a Romulan.
And he has a sword.
And he has a sword, and he's basically an elf.
Awesome. Yeah, he's an elf. He is an elf. There's only one other main character left.
Narek?
Is Narek? Do you consider Narek a main character?
Absolutely,
he's not
Narek
part
is
of
a
the
main
crew.
character. It doesn't matter. He's a main character.
He's the
villain, which makes him a main character. And he's not the villain at first.
No,
right? We don't know him as the villain right away.
I had my suspicions because he was Romulan.
He seems nefarious, sure. Yeah. I mean, but as we go along, I think Narek actually really does form an emotional connection to Soji. And I think it's hard for him, right? When he has to kill her, he cries. I think it's hard for him. I think he does have a genuine emotional connection to this woman, but his Romulan heritage and his sister tell him that's wrong. But he doesn't see it as wrong. That's how he's able to get close to her.
Okay, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
But he did complete his mission.
Well, he did, but he also gets redeemed, I think, a little bit at the end.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the fact that they even would listen and work with Narek at the end shows that he's not a bad guy like his sister is.
Right.
Right? His sister is wholly evil.
Yes.
He's not. He
just
never saw this vision that they saw.
He just wants to save the galaxy.
Well, yeah, he thinks that AI can ruin the galaxy, but I think along the way, he starts to realize that maybe this form of AI is not going to ruin the galaxy.
But to be fair, that form of AI could have ruined the galaxy.
It could have.
And it was very close. Tentacles were coming out of the fabric of space.
They almost did. I
So-
don't want to deny that.
So the Romulans were right.
But Data's daughter wins out.
No, Picard wins out.
No, Soji wins out.
She listened to Picard because she was bringing
It doesn't
down...
matter that she listened to Picard. The fact that she would even listen to Picard means Soji wins.
Okay.
Right? Data is what made sure that didn't happen.
And what about the... I can't think of her name right now. I just lost it. The cybernetic doctor. The one that killed Maddox.
Oh, yeah, I'm spacing her name too. We should have wrote these things down.
We should have. It's like we should have... To me, her character has the most room to grow.
Sure.
Because she's been lied to. She doesn't... now she actually has her work in front of her.
Right.
Like, Soji's right there.
I think the whole thing with Rios bothered me because when her and Rios got together, hooked up in that one episode, I thought to myself, she's playing him. She's endearing herself to him so that he won't see that she's the one who's a traitor.
Right.
And then when that relationship kind of got to leave or to be open-ended, I was just like, no, see, I don't feel like she cares about Rios. It didn't feel that way to me.
I think she does.
It felt like she was trying to endear herself to the crew. She did the same thing with Raffi.
No, yeah, I think she's guilty for where she's at. Like,
Helping her out when Raffi was all stoned. She helped her out, right? Trying to endear herself. So I thought she was trying to endear herself to the crew.
I thought she felt guilty about the fact that she was...
She clearly did.
Was
she put herself
being a
into a
traitor.
medically induced coma so that they could stop being tracked.
Right. And then you see her when she rescues Picard.
Sure.
Like, it's... Yeah, I'm the bad guy. We all... Like, because we all like, oh, yeah. She's the bad one. Like,
Sure.
she's going to be the traitor. And she did. And it was very
She
like...
killed Maddox.
Yeah. It was very...
They needed him.
And then she's like, here, let's get out of here. I got you.
Right.
So all in all, though, I'm excited to see where Picard goes.
Yeah.
I want to know what the galaxy... I do want to know, and the fact that it's not a Federation-based show, I want to know what the Klingon Empire's up to. How do the Cardassians rebuild themselves?
Sure.
What is the state of
What are the
universe?
loops? Yeah, what are the leftover plot holes or the leftover plot points that we're hanging on from the end of TNG? Because we really got to know, as the villains, we really got to know the Cardassians. We really got to know the Romulans as the villain. Right. We didn't get to know them personally, or really, we just got to understand how their empire sees the universe.
And how do the Klingons feel about the Romulan Empire being in shatters? Because they are a species that would definitely take advantage of this.
Well, but the Klingons, you have to look at too. The Klingons being a tentative member of the Federation, even toward the end of TNG, I think we're at a better place in the universe. They had a good arc with what happened with what's his name?
Martok?
No. The leader that Picard supported.
Gowron?
I think we have an interesting perspective on the Klingons through Gowron, where we got to understand that no, they're not just the Roman Empire. There's a complexity. There's layers to them.
Yeah, but they would still definitely be like, oh, there's a vacuum in space right now. Let's expand our...
Yeah, but Romulus was destroyed. It's not like there's a planet they can go conquer.
It's not just a planet. It's not just... But Romulus being destroyed doesn't stop the Romulan... Like, that empire is completely in shatters because Romulus is destroyed.
Well, sure. The key center of their
right.
universe is
So
destroyed.
there are planets and territories that the Klingons can go,
Well, yeah, I can see that.
And I just want... Yeah, I want to see what these things are... Where they're at and where the universe is. Because that, to me, this is the closest I've gotten to where I left off on Star Trek at the end of Voyager.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like the movies, you had Nemesis and you had Insurrection were fun little adventures, but they didn't change the galaxy.
Data's death, I think, obviously changed the galaxy.
Now, yes, definitely now. Definitely now.
We can look at it now and say Data's death definitely changed things.
Yeah.
And not to mention, his positronic matrix kept surviving and got to continue evolving.
And then
we pulled the plug. So before we get out of here, though, I do want to really quick mention a character that we totally left out. Hugh.
Okay.
Because Hugh's arc through way back in Iborg, coming through the episodes with Lore and some of the uprising in the Borg collective were interesting arcs for him. Mm-hmm. And I think being the liaison to ex-Borg people,
XBs, yeah.
XBs, what they called them in the show, was beautiful. And his death actually impacted me.
Really?
Yeah.
It didn't impact me at all.
I felt sad when Hugh died.
When he died, I was like, oh, Hugh died. And then I went online to make sure it was the same actor that played Hugh. Yeah, no, I know. And I was like, okay, good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I recognized him when he first popped on screen.
Like, yeah, to me, I was like, okay. I didn't have that emotional connection to Hugh. Because...
See, and I'm going to make a comment that my wife, Corey, does not like Star Trek. She's not a fan of Star Trek. She likes movies, some of the movies and stuff, but she's not really a deep Trekkie like I am and like you are. But because we were watching Picard, she actually liked Picard because it doesn't really feel like Star Trek.
No, it doesn't.
It's very different. It still has the core values, I think, of who Picard is as a character, but the show around him is very different. But so when various characters were popping up, like Hugh, like 7 of 9, oftentimes what we would do is we would go watch those episodes to show the introduction of these characters. So like we watched Borg. We watched the introduction of 7 of 9 when she gets liberated and gets taken to Voyager. So that she could get a little backstory. Watch the Best of Both Worlds so she could understand Locutus and what happened to Picard during the Borg time.
Did you watch the episode after the Best of Both Worlds where he goes home to his brother?
We did not.
Because you should have, like,
it's a brilliant episode.
Like those are you need to watch those episodes together. It's like Best of Both Worlds is one episode, even though it's 2, and then this episode.
Sure.
Like they should
how
be
he deals
watched.
with the fallout of this, like, on a personal level.
Yeah, because that's something that Star Trek never did.
Right.
And that, like, those 3 episodes are just great storytelling.
But I will tell you, while she watched Best of Both Worlds, while she watched the introduction of 7 of 9, while she watched some of these episodes to get her prepared or to get some backstory, she was mostly not engaged, except for when we were watching Borg. She got to the end of the episode and she said, that was one of the coolest episodes of Star Trek I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a good episode.
Because, and I don't think it's a good episode because of any of the people around him. I think it's a good episode because of Hugh.
Yeah.
Because what we see is a young Borg who only has ever known the collective. And we see him start to gain the perspective of humanity on the collective, which shows you a side of the Borg that you were not up to that point seeing. They were the enemy. They were the bad guys. We didn't get to see them on a personal level.
At that point, they'd only been in, 3 episodes?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because we had the Q episode where he sends them across the galaxy to meet the Borg for the first time.
Best of Both Worlds.
Best of Both Worlds had already happened by then.
And then Hugh.
Yeah.
And so the Borg have only been in, 5 episodes of TNG?
Yeah, they weren't in a lot of episodes. They were explored more in Voyager.
Right, and they got overexposed in Voyager.
Well, that's because Voyager went with the first contact idea that there was a queen.
Yeah.
And that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Like, the Borg being a collective that is one singular consciousness is genius to me.
Well,
like, it makes them the Cybermen. It makes them the Daleks. Right? This idea that they're perfect, you're flawed. But when you add a queen into the mix, it becomes a personal motive about an opinion of the people in the universe, and that changes everything. That threw me completely off. I hated that.
And apparently, season 2 is going to be more episodic, is what the showrunners are talking about.
I think once you get past those first 3 or 4 episodes that are kind of that could have been just one episode, right?
Right.
I think it does feel episodic.
Well,
right? It has its setup, it has its conflict, it has its resolution in almost every episode.
But it continues. It is one big story.
It is one big story, but I think they still feel individual.
I would like the idea of seeing Picard, here's 2 or 3 episodes about one story. The fact that Picard was a slow burn, I actually enjoyed.
No,
2 or 3 episodes for one story, and then we'll switch over to another story, and then whatever. But I don't need to see 12 episodes of just one story anymore.
Sure.
And I'm okay if they go more episodic.
Yeah. And that's how Star Trek used to be, right? There wasn't ongoing narratives. It was, what's going on this week?
Deep Space Nine mucked that one up.
Yeah.
Because they were like, here's 13 episodes at the end of the last show, and they're all one long episode.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could snip out the Dominion War stuff. I have on a couple of occasions, and just watch that. And it's one continual arc throughout various seasons of the show until its conclusion. Right, with the shape changers and all that stuff. So, but anyway, I think overall the show is good. I'm excited to see where it goes.
If you haven't watched it, check it out. It is definitely if you're not a Star Trek fan, watch the Next Generation movies and then watch Picard.
I don't even think you need the movies.
Watch Nemesis at least. It's not a good movie, but
it's not really a good movie. I don't think it's a really good one to go
I like
to.
But to be fair, I like all this. There's not a Star Trek movie I don't like, except for the JJ verse. But those don't.
Yeah, I mean,
those don't count.
I don't like all 3 of those.
Yeah, they don't count.
The first 2. I didn't like the third one.
I like the first one.
Yeah, the first one's good.
But like, honestly, Picard, it used to be if there was a show that a friend of mine was like, I want to watch Star Trek, I don't know where to start, I'd be like, here's Deep Space Nine.
Right.
Watch this. Now I'm more like, you know what? Here's Picard.
Sure.
Because that character is so iconic.
The reality is, me and you are both huge Trekkies, and it appealed to us as well.
Right.
So the very reality is, I think it can appeal to Trekkies, but you just have to go into it understanding that it's not what you remember, because it's not about the Federation.
But here's the thing. I got to watch it through my mother's eyes. Now, my mom's the one that introduced me to Next Generation. She's the reason I love Star Trek. And
she's my dad.
Yeah, and she is not a Star Trek fan like me. Like, she's like, yeah, I like the show, but she's not... She doesn't watch the movie. She doesn't read the book. She's like, yeah, it was a good show.
Sure.
I was like, watch Picard, and I'm watching it through her eyes as she's asking me these questions, and her excitement of just seeing this character and seeing this world again for her. To me, it's like someone who doesn't know Star Trek watching it again.
Sure.
And her excitement is why I'm like, yeah, this is it. Here's 10 episodes. Watch this.
Yeah.
It's a very light Trek, and we get everything you'd have got out of TNG. And by the end...
Sure.
Then
there's even the big Federation moment. So
yeah.
I mean, it's really not a show about the Federation.
No.
And if that's why you like Star Trek, Picard might not be for you. Because it's definitely not about the Federation. The Federation makes it very clear from the get-go they are not on his side.
Right, but it is about the Federation. It's about Picard still adhering to what the Federation
stood for.
Or
should stand for.
In his mind, and what he pledged his life to.
Absolutely.
And at the end, that last speech of him going...
we get a big moments. But
so, to me,
it's well done. I think
a good
for
intro.
old and new fans alike, I think it's going to be a show that is going to continue on and get, get multiple seasons. Assuming Patrick Stewart sticks around with us for a little while longer.
And he says as long as the character is not... As long as it's not retreading what he's already done.
Yeah.
He says he's...
Yeah, that was his biggest stipulation coming in, was he didn't want to just... nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia.
Right.
And that's why I think those episodes where we do have nostalgia feel more natural.
And they mean so much more.
Because in all reality, I like Riker and Troy. I liked seeing them, but their daughter was the character who impressed me the most in that episode. Their daughter blew me away.
Troy impressed me the most in that episode.
Their daughter blew me away.
No, and their daughter was an amazing character.
The brilliant idea of who Troy is and who Riker is built into a singular character was brilliant, and they pulled it off perfectly.
Yeah, yes. To me, that was... And then Riker made a pizza, and it just all made sense to me.
It made sense. But thanks for sitting in with us and listening to us go on about the nerdy things that we love.
Can I just give a PSA real quick?
Sure.
Because
PSA it up. Yeah,
we're in that really weird time. Guys, if you got a comic store that's doing curbside pickup, please call them, support them. If you don't, I posted it on Facebook. TKO Publishing is if you order their products online, they're going to give a comic book store
the comic book store that you go to
the exact amount of money they would have got if you bought it at their store.
Absolutely.
So if you want to check it out, TKO is actually a really cool company. They're very creator owned, creator driven, a lot like Image is, but not as big.
Right.
They got a lot of big names writing for them. Check them out. I mean, if you don't have a store that's doing curbside, because some comic stores just can't.
Right. Absolutely.
Maybe that's a way you can still support them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everybody just stay safe out there. It's a crazy time. We've had some things that we had planning coming down the pipeline in the future for you that we've had to put on hold and push back a little bit, but we're still committed to that once we get through this crisis. In the meantime, you're sitting at home, you got nothing to do, check out entertainthegeeky.com. We've got various trailers, review stuff there. We will be doing some upcoming nerd news reviews on a couple of video games that are popping up here to keep us distracted while all this is going on. So keep a listen out for that. We're going to have Mike back on the show to talk about those things with us. Speaking of another Mike that we know, check out goinfo.org. Mike Rodger,
his
company is doing
great,
all kinds of stuff. Right, he is a gaming journalist. He likes games. He likes to stir the pot.
He is going nuts right now.
He's going hard with it. So check out the website goinfo.org. The Influence Foundation. We are everywhere is their motto.
Right. Yeah. You guys give it a listen to Board Game Bros if that's up your alley. Matt and Jeff are doing great work over there.
Yeah, Matt and Jeff, they're brothers. They play board games. They talk about board games.
It's pretty funny, and
they're funny guys.
So yeah. They're funny guys.
We'll have some little prelude videos coming up for you in the near future for the Kickstarter for Conniving Cooks. We've been putting together some videos in this time when we're all trying to socially isolate.
Yeah. Hey, it's a quarantine. Let's all get together and shoot a video.
We got together. We shot a video. It was a pretty quick thing. But check out all that stuff. We're excited to bring those things to you. And until next time, guys, do me a favor. Stay safe and stay geeky.